Satch, how's it going, my man?
Terrence, how was your week?
It was good. It was Halloween.
Yeah, mine sucked.
Why?
Well, so I decided to dress up as the coolest guy I know.
Okay.
And I dressed up as Curtis Axel.
Okay.
When I went out on the way to the parking lot, this giant monster among men shows up, just pops out of the trash, and just starts power slamming me one after another. So that's how my Halloween ended. Also, I moved to the Hartford neighborhood of Dudleyville.
Okay.
And there was a giant Royal Rumble going on at 2 a.m. outside my house.
Okay.
That part's actually true, but I ain't going out to investigate.
Yeah, we're gonna get right into it. Look. Heart blacker than my socks. The fan waiting for that drop. I haven't written in a week. Been double tapping like a creep. Saw colors with my last girl. With my new chick, I see the world. Yeah, she got me plotting. Maybe I should put a baby in a chick. Fuck happiness. I just like I'm pretty and I'm thick. Girl, you know that I'm a Mac with it. Shouldn't have to say it twice. You don't have to love me. You just gotta act right. Yeah.
Welcome back to Talking About Wrestling. I'm your host, TW. I'm a wrestling fan just like you, and this is a show for wrestling fans by wrestling fans. Whoever you are, wherever you are, thank you so much for letting this show be a part of your day. Real quick before we get started, go right ahead and hit that subscribe button, whether you're listening on YouTube, whether you're listening on iTunes, whether you're listening on SoundCloud. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, leave a little comments, leave a nice little 5-star rating. Let me know how good this show is, or let me know if you think the show stinks and what I can do better, because we want to be your favorite. We want to be your favorite. All right. Okay. All right. So look, man, this week in wrestling, a lot of stuff going on. You're continuing the build to Survivor Series, coming off the Under Siege angle last week, which kind of jump-started the run into Survivor Series. I'm eating my own tongue right now. They're coming off the Under Siege angle, which kind of jump-started the build into Survivor Series. I came off last week feeling like it was a little bit hot-shotted, like they were just kind of taking everything they were doing up to that point and putting it to the side just to kind of jump into this with very little arc, It just kind of jumped right into the Survivor Series storyline, and it really makes me feel like they're just doing this to put other stuff on pause, or rather just putting other stuff on pause so they can do this story, and then as soon as Survivor Series is over, we're going to go right back to whatever the stories were. But this week we got some interesting twists, and we're going to see how those might actually affect Survivor Series, or if they're going to, change what might be happening afterwards. I have my ideas on where I think everything is going. I'll share some of that with you guys once Satch and I get to talking. And also, this week was the final episode of Impact leading into Bound for Glory. And listen, I was saying last week that I was really leaning towards not purchasing it. I don't know. This episode might have got me. They did a lot of video packages, and it almost felt like a long preview show. You know how you watch but before they started putting matches on the pregame shows, there would just be like a lot of video packages, like interviews and montages of the different storylines leading in to tell you, why this match is a big deal. And for the most part, that's exactly what this episode of Impact was. And I can't say that it was time not well spent, because you're dedicating all of your TV time towards telling everybody why they need to be watching and paying for your pay-per-view. So ultimately, I am very interested to see what the show is going to look like coming live from an arena, not the Impact Zone. I want to see how they set up the Aberdeen Pavilion. I want to see what it's going to look like. I want to see what it's going to sound like with a room full of paying customers. And I think this is actually going to be huge. We've seen a lot of, if you've been following some of the Impact stars on social media, you've seen them doing a lot of promotion around the Ottawa area. They've recently come up with some new sponsorships in Canada. And so it seems like because Anthem is based out of Canada, that they probably do have some good relationships to take advantage of there that they might not have here in the United States. So basing the operations for Impact out of Canada might be a better thing for everyone all around, because let's be honest, if the show looks like a bigger deal and it feels like a bigger deal, it's more fun to watch. So we'll see where that's going. Right now, if I had to say right now, I think I probably would buy Bound for Glory, but we'll see how my weekend goes, and we'll see if I'm still feeling like that come Sunday night. So we'll see. But I'm definitely, either way, I'm looking forward to the show just to see how it plays out. Some of the interaction between Johnny Impact and Eli Drake is making me feel like they might go with putting the title on Johnny Impact instead of Eli Drake. And I think that'd be a huge mistake, right? Impact needs a champion who is identified by us fans as an Impact guy, and Johnny Impact would certainly not be that guy. I don't care if he calls himself Johnny Impact, Johnny Global, he calls himself Johnny Anthem, right? But we see him as a guy who got famous in WWE, and we don't see Eli Drake in that same way. So, Eli Drake needs to have a long, successful title run, and he needs to be the guy that they build this show around going forward for the foreseeable future. And if they come out of Slammiversary with something other than that, it's going to raise a lot of questions, boy. We know Alberto El Patron is coming back, and again, that raises even more questions. Now, I'm of the mindset that Jeff Jarrett was the one who decided to put Alberto El Patron at the top of the card. With Jeff Jarrett being gone, I don't think El Patron will return to the main event like he was before, but that remains to be seen. The biggest, most exciting thing that I'm looking forward to from this upcoming week of Impact tapings is what this show is going to look like being performed in front of a live crowd of paying customers week in and week out. I think that's going to change the look and the feel of the show completely. I hope that Aberdeen Pavilion is lit well and it doesn't look like, some crappy little indie show. But this all remains to be seen. So good luck to everybody over at Impact with Bound for Glory. And without further ado, I'm going to bring in Satch so we can play Yes Please, No Please, Please Please. Yo, Satch, man, your stories, oh my God, dude, your stories are so crazy.
I swear, if you had Total Divas follow me around all day, they'll see all the weird stuff I encounter.
That's hilarious. Yo, what's actually funny? Speaking of Total Divas, I saw a promo for an episode of Total Divas where Maurice is like trying to get in Naya's face, and I'm like, yo, she really does not want these problems. What is wrong with this girl? She was like trying to corner Naya on something to say she's disrespectful. It was the way the scene went. Maurice comes over to where Alexa and Naya are talking, and Maurice is saying something about something, and Naya's like, oh, yeah, sorry, I'm just, I'm preparing I got a gauntlet match. Have you ever been in one of those? And Maurice is like, you have to be kidding me. You are so disrespectful. I've been here for a decade, and what do you mean I've never been in I'm like, what are you talking about? You just asked if she's been in a match or not. And she never answered the question, by the way. She never said she has been in a gauntlet match. She just wanted to be disrespected because Naya asked her a question.
Well, Naya is not like most girls.
She's not. That's right. She's not. And she's not like most girls in the sense that she would probably knock Maurice's face off.
But, Total Divas, and we'll get to this later on in the show, it is so heavily over-scripted. First of all, okay, I'm not going to admit to watching this, but hypothetically, if I did, nobody comes off that, nobody comes off that likable except maybe Naomi. Okay. And everybody just seems like they're looking for drama. You know what yes. I think they just pick someone to go off on, and then just go off on the most random things, like you took my salad, or you made a mess on the floor.
I don't really watch the show, so I don't know the situations, but I think you're absolutely right. Like, people like drama, right? So they keep adding people, and they're like, oh, do drama. And I watched, I think, the first season of it, and then I think I may have watched the second season of it, but it became apparent towards at some point during the second or third season that WWE had figured out how to do a reality show. And so the scenes just consisted of a bunch of staged dinners that would end in arguments and things like that, and it got really corny to me. That first season, it felt like it was more of like almost a real reality show. Like you were seeing things that you weren't supposed to see, and so it felt kind of cool. But once they figured out the reality show formula, I was over it.
Season 2 and 3, we also saw things we weren't supposed to see. But anyway, the first half of season 1, hypothetically, if I watched it, the first half of season 1 was a really interesting look at some of the behind-the-scenes things.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you felt like they were starting to drum up something. Season 2 is when season 2 is when they started to tie in all the arguments on the shows into matches that would happen on Raw and SmackDown the next week, which I thought was a nice touch, and then after that, it just became about everybody's personal lives and boobs.
That's why you watch it, for the personal lives. Hey. All right, so other than Total Divas, what was the big story in wrestling this week? What was really going on?
Ooh, the phenomenal one. It's flying out to England, but not for a match on Rusev Day. No? But for a title shot against the modern-day Manchester Maharaja.
That's right. Or as Paul Heyman would say, the Maharaja. Satch was not impressed by that. Go ahead and say it, Satch. Satch is the most well-reserved person when it comes to saying what's actually on his mind. And I've just seen him swallow like 4 or 5 sentences that he wanted to say. Come on, Satch. This is free radio. Go ahead. Say what's on your mind about the Maharaja.
I never want to hear Paul Heyman roll his R's again.
Yeah, no. Oh, man.
So WWE, on SmackDown, they announced that AJ Styles would face Rusev next week for a spot on the Team SmackDown team. On Twitter yesterday, they changed the match, so it will be AJ versus Jinder Mahal for the title.
Right.
And this has the internet buzzing. Mm-hmm. And I want your thoughts on this, but first I'm going to present 2 different theories that the internet has going on. Right. 1, they want to do a quick title change, and 2, they wanted to pop a rating.
Well, I think both of those are very plausible, right? So they will pop a rating because this is a match that people want to see. Whenever there's a title match announced on short notice, as wrestling fans, we always get suspicious that the company has a need to make a change for some reason that they're not, that they haven't built in storyline, right? They're just, out of nowhere, here's a gauntlet match for the championship, right? Like we feel like there's a reason they need to get the title off of someone. And so I think that will definitely lead to some suspicion. And so you're going to pop a rating, right? Like one thing leads to the other. And let's dive into the looking to do a quick title change thing. Why would they do that? Because I'm actually starting to get interested in the prospect of Brock Lesnar versus Jinder Mahal at Survivor Series. So why would they want to do a title change right now?
Well, not to throw out allegations, the internet thinks that there may have been a wellness test involved.
Back me! Excuse me, I'm sorry. This cough is acting up. I support the Maharaja fully. But
So I guess that's what the internet thinks right now. And the other point in regards to a title change is that they realized how interesting AJ versus Brock could be.
AJ versus Brock could be very interesting. I mean, I would put this in dream match category. Another thing that I noticed on SmackDown was who was in the main event.
Nakamura and Owens?
That's right. And who won the main event? Mr. Red Pants won the main event. Okay, Nakamura.
Knows best.
Well, what's the better way to lead into Todd Chrisley than with a Nakamura victory, right? So Nakamura won the main event over Kevin Owens to get his spot on Shane's Survivor Series team. So I took that as one little sign just to know that they're keeping They're keeping Nakamura in a prominent position. One of the biggest mistakes they made with Roman Reigns was giving the appearance that he was being hot-shotted to the top. By having Nakamura have a title shot, lose, and work his way back up, I think you're fighting around that. You're creating the impression to the fans that we're watching him work his way up, right? We watched him get a title shot, fail, and now have to work his way back up. I know I said Finn Balor's winning the Royal Rumble. I'm changing that. Nakamura's winning the Royal Rumble.
You know, Terrence, you brought up a great point that I think I completely overlooked this year. And guys, I want you to tweet me with your thoughts at Satch and Dave C, at Talkin Bout Pod, at TW Talkin Bout. For fans who don't know who Nakamura is, whether not knowing him from NXT or from New Japan, a lot of the casual fans would think that he's been hot-shotted because he shows up, 2 months later gets a title shot, and achieves everything on gets a clean win over John Cena,
right?
Gets everything on SmackDown within 4 months of debuting. So the casual audience might consider him just being sent straight to the top without being given a reason to care for him.
Yeah, so I think that makes perfect sense, and I think it makes even more sense why they would try to combat that by having him take this route. I mean, you kill two birds with one stone, figuratively. You get to continue Jinder Mahal's reign, not having anyone being able to say he was like a flash-in-the-pan champion or a transitional champion or whatever insult they want to put it to try to discredit his reign as champion. You let Mahal have his reign, and you put Nakamura in a spot where he's going through the entire calendar chasing an opportunity to become the champion, and I think that will culminate in him winning the title at WrestleMania. Because you just got to think, man, like, if Nakamura wins the title at WrestleMania, you're going to have a stadium full of people singing, so WWE is very smart for having an eye for those things, and I think that's 100% happening. So Nakamura's win was like the key to me to realizing, because think about the way they just jumped into this planning for Survivor Series, right? I felt like they were putting every other storyline on pause so they could do Survivor Series, which I think they are, but they have to actually come back to it at some point. So you keep these things marinating. And one of the things you want to keep marinating is that Nakamura's in the main event and Nakamura's winning.
So my last point on this, I'm kind of glad that they're doing something with Styles and Jinder other than having him fight the Singh brothers, because SmackDown's next pay-per-view is in December.
Right.
So we have a lot of time to pass between now and then. And you've seen when we had to pass time in the other Jinder feuds, it hasn't been pretty.
You're right. And here's another thing that I think this actually could be pretty interesting. If they do the title switch with AJ beating Jinder in the UK, then that sets up an opportunity for Jinder to be the challenger for the title when WWE goes to India in December.
I didn't think about that.
Look at that. Listen, one thing that WWE has gotten right better than any other wrestling company ever is to send the fans home happy. And even though Jinder is the villain here, in India, he's the hero. And so if you can create a situation where he is winning the title in India, that's a moment that you can just play over and over and over again, because you're going to have that great fan reaction. And it might be the villain winning, but it's still going to be a stadium or an arena full of people losing their minds with happiness because he's won.
1.3 billion people
can't all fit into an arena, but that would still be great. All right. Anything else outside of our pleases that you want to get into before?
Well.
Uh-oh.
All right. WWE does their usual Halloween gimmicks every year.
Yeah.
They do. Whenever Raw or SmackDown fall on a holiday, they do their holiday gimmicks. They're never good.
No.
Yeah, now we can get back to non-holiday gimmick stuff.
Okay. I thought you were going to get into the Good Brothers match where my man had the pumpkin on his head.
Yeah, this.
Oh, it was awful.
Yeah, I didn't need a pumpkin spice tag team match.
Yeah, no, it was not good. And the less we talk about it, the better. All right, so it's time to play America's favorite game. Satch, are you ready?
Are you ready?
Okay. All right. Satch, what did you see in the world of WWE that you like this week? What did you see that had you saying, yes, please?
Guys, if you follow me on Twitter, then you would have gotten a sneak peek at my yes, please this week. My yes, please is the Fashion Files parody of Stranger Things. Stranger-er Things.
Yeah.
So, one of my favorite things about Tyler Breeze and Fandango doing these little skits, even though they're not wrestling at all. But one of my favorite things is it keeps them on the show, probably saved them and the Ascension from being released.
True.
And because they don't wrestle, they don't job. And they probably would be the ones taking the falls in the tag team division.
That's true.
So this, while flexing their creativity muscles, keeps them out of losing. So I've liked some episodes.
If you don't wrestle, you can't lose. That's a New York Giants philosophy.
Think about it. So some weeks have been better than others, but this week I liked it because it was timely. It incorporated the Ascension and Ty Dillinger in ways that the wrestling fans could enjoy and ways that Stranger Things fans could enjoy. And the comedy was pretty good this week. If you get the jokes, the comedy was good this week.
I have not watched Stranger Things as of yet. So any of the jokes probably went over my head. But this does look like they're leading to the debut of the Bludgeon Brothers. I think at some point they're going to do something where the lovable Breezango ends up in the middle of the ring talking about how they solved the case, and then the lights are going to drop, the Bludgeon Brothers are going to come out and bludgeon Breezango.
I mean, that would be a way to get huge heat on the Bludgeon Brothers.
I don't know, because do people really like Breezango that much?
I think so. I think they get mid-card pop. Well, we haven't seen them in front of a live audience in a little
Exactly.
while.
So how would we even know?
But I think they've got a fun babyface thing going on in the mid-card that I think the fans like them enough that they won't boo.
Okay, I think that's fair. The fans like them enough that they won't boo, but I don't know if they're excited. Like, they love them. Like, if these guys are getting beat down, they're going to be like, no, please stop. Like, I don't see that happening. I think they might be like, yeah, hit him again. Is that a real hammer? I think so. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. This Fashion Files thing, it jumped the shark with me a long time ago. When it originally started, I was happy to see them doing something that wasn't, just time-killing, stupid stuff. But it just got stupider and stupider, and I thought this would be a vehicle to give them some texture to their character, but they just went all the way stupid with it. Like, they went full in on the stupid, and they didn't like. I thought it was going to be something kind of like the APA used to do, where they would have their skits backstage where they were drinking beer and playing poker, and they had like the funny thing, they would have the door there and nobody could walk around the door. They made everybody knock on the door and open the door, and but again, it was just a little something to add some texture to the character, so that when they went out there, smashed people in the ring, and were gone in 2 minutes, it was like, I get it. These guys just want to get back and play poker and drink beer. Like, it made sense. And I kind of thought that's what they would do with this, but it kind of, like I said, they've just gone all the way left with it. And I'm like, yawn.
Well, I think I know what would get you back into it. They need to do a Total Divas parody.
Nope. Nope. That would not. Oh, God.
But
that would take two things that I mildly like and make me mildly like them even less.
Well, you know what this reminds me of? And guys, if you ever watched Z, the True Long Island, the first half of Z, the True Long Island Story, or Up, Down, Down, or the JBL and Cole show, this feels like a YouTube show that they've put in the middle of the show. Because one thing you notice is when WWE doesn't meddle when their stars do YouTube shows, they get to flex a lot more creativity. Kind of like how interesting Xavier Woods is on Up, Down, Down, or how the JBL and Cole show took Cody and Barrett and Caitlyn who weren't being used on the show and gave them something fun to work on.
That was fun. I did enjoy that.
So I think this is Fandango and Breeze's YouTube show on the show.
I think that's interesting.
But without the big show.
On the show. But you know what? The thing I don't like is I feel like they just lose me with the corny jokes. That's what it is. It's just too much corny jokes for me. Maybe if I were watching this on YouTube, maybe I'd be a lot more open to it because I wouldn't expect wrestling.
If I were on YouTube, I'd probably just end up clicking one of the side links to go listen to Nakamura speak.
Yes. I was gonna say I'd rather listen to Nakamura speak than watch these shows. I just did the Nakamura hand thing, and then I probably looked. Yeah. All right. So my yes, please is for Babyface Braun Stroman. Braun! I didn't think I wanted this, but I want it. I like it. I'm here for it. Listen, I said last week, Braun, just protect your character because I don't want to see Babyface Braun become some big, soft crybaby, who's, I'm just here to do the right thing because I'm a good guy and everybody must know that I'm explicitly stating that I'm a good guy now, right? Like, nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that from Braun Strowman. Nobody wants to see that from anybody. And what Braun managed to do this week was consistently stay the monster among men, right? But he added little babyface techniques. Like when the crowd said one more time, he kept power slamming Curtis Axel to death. So by the end, Curtis Axel was just like a limp, like just putty, just laying there. And it was great. The crowd loved it. And if you noticed, when he lifted up his arms to do the raw, the whole crowd did it with him. And I was like, yo, this is a thing. This is a thing. And so, yeah, I mean, Braun Strowman merchandise on the way, I guess.
Those Monster Among Men shirts aren't bad, even though most WWE t-shirts are very over-graphic.
Right. Well, I feel like with Braun, just the image of him raising his arms, doing the yell, and everyone doing it with him, I feel like that's your t-shirt right there. With Braun raising his arms, and then with the whole audience behind him raising their arms, doing it too. Like, that's your t-shirt right there.
Braun did something that we don't usually see, and that's respond to the fans when they call for something. First, it was the one more time chant that they did about 5 more times.
Yes.
And then it was the table spot. And normally fans don't chant that at babyfaces because the heels are the more interesting beatdowns. But when they chant that at the heels aren't allowed to do it one more time.
Yeah. By the way, if you're Curtis Axel, at some point in this where you're like, yo, can we just go back?
Please stop chanting. Please stop chanting.
That couldn't have felt good. Like, I mean, like, listen, wrestling is choreographed, but it can't feel good to A, be slammed, and B, have Braun Strowman landing on top of you time after time after time.
I may be misremembering it, but I feel like either Mick Foley or somebody got the one more time chanted for the person beating them up. And then he cut a promo on it the next week, basically calling out the fans that when I needed you chanted one more time. So there's a way to turn this into some positive heat.
Yeah, Curtis Axel with the heat. He should come out next week with like the neck brace on. Oh my God, that'd be so funny. All right, Satch. So we heard what you like, but what didn't you like? We want to know what you saw from WWE this week that had you saying no, please.
My no, please is more of an extracurricular thing that happened off the show. WWE announced their most recent round of releases, which featured Darren Young, Summer Rae, and Emma. Mm-hmm. Suspiciously, not Neville, but we'll get to that next week. So they announced that they were releasing Darren Young, Emma, and Summer Rae, and for Emma and Summer, I feel like there was a lot of wasted potential. Mm-hmm. I'm not pooping on Darren. I'm just saying that he got 2 major pushes and got serious injuries during those pushes, so I understand why he was released.
Sure.
For Emma and Summer, there was a lot left on the table. Mm-hmm. Emma was one of the true women's revolution leaders along with Paige.
Right.
And Emma has proved to be a compelling heel because she's a heel that tells the truth and gets bopped on by the baby faces.
Yeah.
I want to sum up her last two storylines on Raw. One, they kind of troll her with the Emelina thing before realizing it was a bad gimmick and then never debuting. And two, they had her arguing with Kurt Angle to give me a shot, mock her for it, job her out, and then release her. So it's sending the message that Emma, while good, you don't think you don't deserve a shot until we tell you deserve a shot. So go sit over there.
Yeah. No, I mean, the Emma thing is the real tragedy, I feel like. Summer Rae, I just was never quite... I mean, people say, she had potential and stuff. I never saw anything that really led me to that conclusion. Excuse me. But same thing with Darren Young, right? Like, he had potential, he had a great look and everything, but it just never got off the ground. So, whatever. You got released, hit the indies, do your thing, get your name back up if you want to come back. Emma, I think, is the opposite there, though, right? Because she's done good stuff on WWE TV, and it doesn't make sense to me. Like, she was a useful character. You have so many characters there who just have no type of buzz, right? Like, get no response from the fans. Nothing going on. Dana Brooke, right? Like, I mean, she's a perfect example. I'm not advocating for anybody to lose their job, but the reality is, if you were cutting people based on who has done anything to elicit a response from the crowd, then I don't know how you could keep Dana Brooke and get rid of Emma, right? I mean, Emma's she's got a good character. She's a good wrestler. What else do you want? And so it's been apparent for a long time that Emma was just not their choice as a lead character. And you think this all comes from the iPad case that she shoplifted from Walmart?
She was rehired after that, so I guess they forgave her. But I want to take a minute to ride the Summer train for a second.
Hello.
So, Summer Rae, back in NXT, was so fantastic at playing a queen bitch. And even in Total Divas, she was so good at just playing someone who was really, really annoying and getting the crowd to play along. I thought if they did factions, or if they did women's factions, she would have been a great pick to lead a faction of underused heels, just have them be like, not quite like Lay Cool, but have them be like the giant annoying bitches of Raw or SmackDown.
The JABs. I can see the t-shirt already.
Oh no. Remember when WWE named the Paige Charlotte faction submission sorority?
Yeah.
The name of an adult film company.
Is it? I've never seen that.
Well, this is what I've heard on the internet.
Okay.
So, WWE's had some weird luck with naming things.
Right. Oh my God. Okay. So, my no please this week also comes from the Raw Women's Division. And rather than who they let go, it's who they basically destroyed this week. So, this week, out of nowhere almost. I wouldn't say out of nowhere. Actually, this was a continuation of a storyline, so it definitely wasn't out of nowhere. But they did another match between Mickie James and Alexa Bliss, okay? And in this match, Mickie James fights valiantly. And she's, just trying every pinning combination possible, every move combination possible, and she just can't get the pin on Alexa Bliss. And how does this hard-fought match end? With a punch. A basic freaking punch. Alexa Bliss just punches Mickie James, and she's laid out, and she can't move for the 1, 2, 3. And I just felt like this was such a bad look for Mickie James. Obviously, her resume is sterling. It doesn't hurt her credibility as a character or a performer, but as far as any momentum she may have had from that storyline that she just had finished with Alexa Bliss, this just killed her dead. Like, why would you ever want to see her get another shot after she's so weak that it just takes a punch to beat her after she's been trying to pin Alexa Bliss for 15 minutes?
Terrence, what is my second most favorite saying ever?
Bounce that booty like a basketball. Bounce that.
No, that was number 3.
Okay.
Number 2 is I told you so.
Oh,
So
okay.
last week I was going off on this about how Alexa doesn't play the part of a slimy heel when she just runs over her opponents cleanly.
Right.
And her knocking out Mickie James with really a forearm, and it wasn't even a phenomenal forearm.
No.
It wasn't a knockout punch.
No.
It wasn't even a Superman punch.
No.
It was just a regular forearm that knocks out, that beats Mickie James.
It wasn't even as good as like Nikki Bella's forearm. Like Nikki Bella has a great forearm. Nikki
Among
Bella.
other things.
The way Nikki Bella throws that forearm, it looks like a finishing move. It looks like a knockout. But Alexa Bliss is wrong. I mean, stop me if I'm wrong, but like Alexa Bliss's forearm or punch, whatever that was, didn't look anywhere near as good as Nikki Bella's forearm looks.
I mean, it really didn't. And there's got, like, if you want her doing like a middle of the ring striking move, you could have her copy the discus clothesline, the clothesline from hell, something better than that, than what we saw.
Oh my God! Could you imagine Alexa? She's so short trying to clothesline from hell somebody with the way it just whips over. You definitely just punch somebody in the face. Like.
So that wasn't necessary. Alexa should have cheated or something. That's a win that should have happened by cheating. Foot on the ropes,
Yeah.
distraction roll up, whatever.
Right.
Sneaky weapon shot.
something, right? But like just the clear, clean, easy win for Alexa Bliss, like that just did Mickie no favors, and it really did the audience no favors because who wants to see Alexa Bliss win clean? Like who's looking for that?
You know what should be Alexa Bliss's new finishing move? The Last Ride. Because the Last Ride is based on The Undertaker being so tall.
Yeah. That's really funny. I'm sure everybody would actually like that. They're like, okay, so it's like a 2-foot bump. I'll take it. All right. So, Satch, we heard what you liked. That was your yes, please. We heard what you didn't like. That was your no, please. But a big part of us being wrestling fans is we like to pretend like we can book the show ourselves. So, Satch, based on what you've seen, what is it in WWE that has you saying, please show me this?
My please is give me more Miz. So, in 1 week, remember last week how I was talking about how I didn't care for Miz versus Corbin? And Miz has sold me on 3 matches in the past week that I had no interest in seeing before. First was Miz versus Corbin. I thought Corbin was the weak link of that feud. It would have been better if the U.S. title stayed on AJ, yada, yada, yada. And while Corbin... I'm just going to put this out there. This is going to be a very one-sided feud on the mic because Miz is so much better than Corbin, and Corbin is somebody that... He gets his heat from backstage beatdowns, which we're not really going to be able to see this much. So...
Right.
They had a bit of a Twitter war over the past week. Miz came out super strong, and now I'm actually interested in seeing a match that probably won't be good, but at least we'll have something to it. The second thing, Miz versus Strowman, because Strowman, I would rather see him fight other people. I would rather see... Even though Kane's not that interesting, I would rather see him fight Kane. I would rather see him fight other monsters and put himself... and rebuild a lot of his heat, that I don't really need to see him face somebody like Miz, who's more of a sly heel. But Miz's whole plot of running away from Strowman really tied Raw together up until that hot final segment, that I actually would be interested in seeing Braun and Miz have like a beatdown type of match for a while. And the third is, surprisingly, Strowman versus Corbin. If Strowman takes the title off Miz, then he goes to Survivor Series and faces Baron Corbin. And here's why that's interesting. After the draft lottery, Strowman and Corbin were each other's counterpart. They were the monsters that were running over local jobbers. They had that showdown in the Royal Rumble when Corbin eliminated Strowman. That this is sneaky one of those counterpart versus counterpart matches that would have been interesting had it been announced originally for Survivor Series.
Man, that's a great deep dive on that. So each one of those points individually. First with the promos. I'm Team Corbin on these promos. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the first one I saw, obviously, was the one that The Miz did. And that was the one that got the most traction. People circulated that the most. But my thing about this is like, there's nothing threatening about The Miz. I'm sorry. There's nothing threatening about The Miz.
Not even Bo Dallas's jacket?
No. Nothing about or around The Miz is threatening. It's just not, man. So when he cuts his promo and he's like, I'm making the Intercontinental title so prestigious. It's my thing. Blah, blah, blah. That's what I'm doing, and I'm The Miz. And I'm like, yo. It just comes off so whiny. So whiny. Like, even when you're trying to be tough. And the nerve of The Miz to call someone a Twitter tough guy. Give me a break. So my thing is like this. Is I look at this and I'm like, in real life, if The Miz ever talked to Baron Corbin like this, Baron Corbin would beat the skin off of The Miz. So I laughed hilariously when The Miz called Baron Corbin a Twitter tough guy, and then said, if you ever talk about my wife again, I'll punch your teeth down your throat. And I'm like, oh my God, what did he say about his wife? So then I go back and I watch Baron Corbin's original promo, and Baron Corbin just slightly made a reference to something about, what do you say, like staying home with your wife or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Right. And so, again, he didn't insult her in any way. And so, Miz wanted to take that and run with it and use it to look tough from his phone, okay? And so then he's talking bad. And what does Baron Corbin do when he comes back? He comes back and cuts a promo in which he explicitly mentions the Miz's wife about 5 times. And that's called pulling your punk card. That's called, you say you're going to do something, let's see what you got. And he did that directly to The Miz, via promo, right? And I'm like, I love that. I'm here for it because everyone's so excited about, The Miz got a promo, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yo, that was whack to me because listen, what makes a promo good is it sells you on something, right? That's how you start this whole thing is The Miz has been selling you on the idea of seeing him go against Baron Corbin, which is cool, right? But he's not selling me on the idea that he can do anything to Baron Corbin. I'm not sold on that at all, right? And so The Miz talking tough on a Twitter promo, is just, it does nothing for me. I like it, right? I like it. It's good build for the match. But the idea that The Miz is threatening Baron Corbin is beyond hilarious to me.
See, I want to know, there are 2 things I want to see WWE go all in on. I want this feud to be completely off TV and happen only on social media and see how. And I want to see what the reaction is at Survivor Series for it because really, the feud has only been happening on social media.
Right.
Because they both have their...
Which is very smart by them, right? I guess this is kind of what you call, depending on who you ask, some people might call this going to business for yourself. Some people might call it, going the extra mile to, make your thing hot. But either way, think about it like this. The people who are going to buy the tickets for Survivor Series are people who are watching promos on the internet. So I think if they were to do that, if they were to just keep promoting this thing via social media, I think it would be very hot come Survivor Series.
The other thing, and I'm going to play the opposite point here, Miz came off feeling and looking like a main eventer, while Corbin came off feeling and looking like a mid-card heel. And that's why I think if a Corbin win over The Miz means something, a Miz win over Corbin doesn't. Because Miz is so much higher than Corbin on the kayfabe tier. Okay,
now, I think... That's why I think this is actually important for Miz. Because what Miz has to do... So, there's multiple views on this thing, right? So, the way you see it, right, Miz is higher than Corbin. And I agree that Miz is higher than Corbin in the hierarchy of WWE performers. But, again, like I said, the idea that Miz can do anything to put Baron Corbin in danger is lost on me, right? So, it's important in the build to this that Miz does something to make himself look like he can actually be a threat to Baron Corbin. So that would be a win for Miz in my eyes.
Who's Corbin feuding with on SmackDown right now? Has he been there?
He's feuding with the perception that he's dull and boring. That's what he's feuding with.
I actually want to pick up on that. Corbin is someone that I feel was really burned by the loss of what was it?
Talking Smack, yeah.
Yeah, someone that was really burned by that because with him going on there and being his punkish, beat-down self, he was able to play off of Daniel Bryan and have those arguments. And that was the only place where he was able to get his character over, other than his pre-match beatdowns. And when you take that part out of it, we only see him for like 2 minutes berating Renee Young before going down to the ring. And he lost a crucial avenue for his character to do something there.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. Rest in peace, Talking Smack.
Also, I wanted to see more Daniel Bryan, more...
Yes.
What was it, Santa Rhino, the gross one? They had some gems on that show.
That was a good show. And the reason why it was such a good show is because it was hands-off by Vince McMahon. You know, the guys got to actually come and, you know, let out some of their own personality, develop their characters more on their own. I would say Talking Smack was a big reason for The Miz's career resurgence. I would say it was the sole reason for The Miz's career resurgence. It was a big reason for the development of the Usos character.
I love those Usos and D-Bry segments.
Yeah, man. Listen, so Talking Smack was a great vehicle, and they'll just ruin it if they try to bring it back. All right, so my please is coming from Raw. Now, the Raw show opened with Kurt Angle comes out.
You suck. You suck.
So Kurt Angle's in the ring doing his thing, and out comes Stephanie McMahon. Okay, so Steph's back. And here's the thing, man. Steph's great, okay? Like, there is no knocking Stephanie McMahon. Like, she's awesome as a performer. She's so good on the microphone. She delivers exactly the emotion and the message that she's trying to get across. Stephanie McMahon is one of the best performers in all of wrestling. She is. She straight up is. Like, there's just no way around that. Having said that, she sucks the air out of the room. Like, she does. She's just too big of a presence. And no one stands up to her. No one can come back. No one can retaliate against her force or whatever it is that she's doing. And so she just belittles everyone. And so I don't want to see Stephanie McMahon back on Monday Night Raw full time. I'd like to see her come and set up matches and big moments like she did on Monday night. But other than that, we do not need to see Stephanie McMahon on a weekly basis because, again, she just cuts the you-know-what off of all the wrestlers. No wrestler can be the top villain as long as Stephanie McMahon's around because she has to be the top villain. She has to be the biggest boss. And I think it just belittles everyone else on that show. And so, Steph, I love you. I think you're a great performer. I just don't want to see you every night on Monday Night Raw.
You know, this reminds me of one of the little stories from 2014. Yeah, from 2014. So they did the Shield versus the Rhodes Brothers feuds. They had Dusty Rhodes come back and have a promo battle with Stephanie.
I remember that.
Dusty went off script. The original script was supposed to be that Stephanie was supposed to bury Dusty on the mic.
Yeah.
And Dusty went off script and was the more memorable part of that segment. So that's just one of
it wasn't like the last time we saw Dusty on TV.
Oh boy, that might have been.
That was one of the last times we saw Dusty on TV.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things. Like, they actively book her to bury other people.
Yeah.
That, remember was it last year that she had that feud with Sasha Banks, or?
Oh, God.
That wasn't good.
She cut Sasha's you-know-what off, too. It's like, and that's the thing, man. No one can stand up to her. Now, here's the thing. I can't talk about this without giving Steph her credit on this. The last 2 years in a row at WrestleMania, she has taken a nasty bump. And that has been, I guess, the payoff to a year long of her cutting everybody's balls off. But, I mean, I don't know. I'm not here for the ball cutting off. I just come on, Steph. Like, just show up to promote something big, but don't come every night on Raw and dominate the show. So, go.
You know, that is what could have gotten Roman over. Like, having Roman be the one to, like, yeah, I know he can't do anything other than that accidental spear, but having Roman be the one to shut her down. That, by the way, she took that spear like a champ. She
really did.
She took the spear better than Batista took the spear from Roman in the.
And if you go back and watch that match, the point where he spears Stephanie, the crowd turns for Roman.
But and they didn't really capitalize on that moment. But that's what could have gotten somebody really hugely over. They just don't want to have Steph take any type of L.
She's the grand champion. Like, you can't beat her. I don't know. So WWE, please use Steph wisely and don't do overkill on the Steph McMahon. All right, so that's our pleases for this week. Satch, we cannot leave without you giving us the next chapter in the saga of Los Ingobernables.
Well, this week we're going to talk about Tetsuya Naito's counterpart on the heel side, Kazuchika Okada. So they both got super pushes at the same time. One to be the face of the future, the other to be the heel of the future. But the funny thing about getting a super push as a heel is that it's easier to get over because the crowd's supposed to hate you anyway. And when Naito was winning the G1 and on his way to main event Wrestle Kingdom, Okada was feuding with Tanahashi, the John Cena of New Japan. And so you had the top guy versus the young hotshot, and this feud unexpectedly became red hot to the point where the audience would have rather seen that main eventing Wrestle Kingdom 8 rather than seeing Naito. And this match of passing the guard, of being the new king, the new ace, ended up main eventing Wrestle Kingdoms 9 and 10, combined with Okada's rise of beating all the other challengers, all the other veterans, moving his way up the card, and just pumping out 4.5-star matches every match, that the crowd started to buy into the fact that Okada really is backing up his words. He really is the best in the world. And that's when the crowd really accepted Okada as being the new ace, the new top star of New Japan, and he's continued to have that run. He's been champion for a year and a half. He's had multiple classic title defenses against numerous different styles, and the fan base over there has a hard time seeing anybody else worthy of beating him because of how good he's been presented and how good his matches have been. So while Naito had to rebuild himself, the super push worked for Okada in a way because he was the heel and because he really stepped it up with his 40-minute 5-star classics.
Wow.
Next week we get to the fun part. Heel Naito gets revenge on everyone who robbed him of the main event of Wrestle Kingdom.
Whoa. This is good stuff, man. This is really good. I mean, Satch, I've never been into anything related to New Japan except for when Cody was going to have his match when they came to the U.S. at that time. But, this is really good storytelling. I'm very interested to see what happens. What I wanted to know is, in this stage of the story, was Andrade Cien Almas, was he still in the group at this point?
So he was in the I think at this point he's probably left New Japan, stayed exclusive with CMLL for a little while until he was signed by NXT.
Okay.
Which, by the way, his Los Ingobernables work is probably the reason he was signed to NXT. Got him noticed by Regal and Triple H.
Yeah, that would make sense because what he's doing at NXT now, he's going with a more kind of a more heelish gimmick, and I like it. He's a good bad guy.
The Naito story overall, I think that's something that they want to do, that WWE wanted to do with Almas by starting him start out as a face that everyone hated and then turning heel.
Yeah.
And it's also something that the fans have commented with Roman Reigns at being a rejected babyface that would have so much ammo if he turned heel.
That's pretty interesting. So, Satch, just before we wrap up here, Bound for Glory is this Sunday. It's TNA. Oh, I'm sorry. TNA Global Force Impact. It's Impact's, supposedly their biggest show of the year. And you want to knock out some predictions for BFG? See where we are on this.
Yeah, Bound for Glory. We'll see who the real dummy is.
Yeah. All right. So real quick, Bound for Glory coming up this Sunday live from Ottawa, Canada. It's going to be on the. I'm not sure if it's on the Global Wrestling Network or not, but it's going to be on traditional pay-per-view for sure. And so let's start with the bottom of the card. They're going with Team Impact, which is going to be Eddie Edwards, EC3, and James Storm versus Team AAA, which is El Hijo de Fantasma. You may know him as King Cuerno, Pagano, and Tejano.
I didn't know Chuck Pagano wrestled.
Chuck Pagano does not. So in this match, I think you're obviously going to go with Team Impact. It's an Impact show. You know, Eddie Edwards, EC3, and James Storm. Those are three of the signature guys of the company. And I expect them to have, a good match where everybody kind of gets their shit in, as Stone Cold would say. And I expect the Impact guys to come out on top. What do you think?
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing the Team Impact lose on an Impact pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Dad.
You have a hard time seeing Team Impact lose on the pay-per-view, especially with some of the rumors that this could be James Storm's time winding down.
Yeah.
I think he gets the final fall and gets a standing ovation from the crowd.
That would make sense. So we got the Knockouts Championship. Oh, I'm sorry, this is not the Knockouts Championship, but we have the a First Blood match. Well, they're calling it a Red Wedding match. Rosemary versus Taya Valkyrie. What you got?
Goodness, I'm hot for this match. I think this is Rosemary, because I think Rosemary's been red hot the past few months, and that's not a blood pun. I think Rosemary's been red hot these past few months. I think this is going to be a very rough, physical, brutal match, and until I see something else, I'm going to pick Rosemary in this.
I agree with that. Rosemary is one of, if not the hottest babyface female character that they have there, and she loses a surprising amount for someone who gets a great reaction out of those Impact Zone crowds. I'm very interested to see what kind of reaction Rosemary is going to get in front of this crowd. Like I said, she is over, man. People like Rosemary. But Taya Valkyrie, she's the new toy, right? And, you always want to keep your new toy nice and shiny. But I'm going to pick Rosemary here. I'm going to say Rosemary gets the win.
You keep your new toy nice and shiny and covered in blood?
In this case, yes. All right. We got Abyss with James Mitchell versus Grado in a Monsters Ball match. If Grado loses, his work visa will be terminated and he must have to leave the U.S.
Yo, this is okay. First of all, as somebody who's had to run paperwork back and forth from the post office, this is such a weird storyline. So after if Grado loses, he have to he's like they're not just putting him on a plane and shipping him out. He has to sign a ton of signatures, then go to the post office.
As he's picking the tax out of his back from the Monsters Ball match.
Does he understand how citizenship visas work?
No, clearly not. They should though, because half their roster is Canadian. You would think. I'm going with Grado here. I think they're going to use this match as an excuse to do the final deletion style production of the match, and so I think there'll be a lot of bells and whistles, probably some surprise appearances in this match. When they did this at Slammiversary for the Joseph Park and Jeremy Borash versus Josh Matthews and Scott Steiner match, that match turned out to be a lot of fun. And so I'm expecting something similar from this match here. And I think Grado's going to come out on top. He's a fan favorite, and obviously I don't expect him to have to leave the company. So that would make sense.
One of the compliments I usually give Impact is that they're good at giving you a variety of different styles and matches on their pay-per-views. I fully expect this one to be like a weapon-filled comedy match. Not a comedy match, but a weapon-filled, more narrative match with some comedy spots from Grado, some weapon spots from Abyss. My favorite nickname is in this match, the Sinister Minister, James Mitchell. But I'm going to pick Grado as well, because I don't want him to have to go through all that paperwork.
All right.
And I got a bonus prediction for you.
Uh-oh.
I think Madonna runs in and helps.
She wants to battle him for a prayer.
Yeah, I think she runs in after the match, beats down everybody else, hits her finisher, the like a prayer off the top rope. And that's our next feud.
Oh my God, that would be so amazing, so hilarious as well. All right, so we're getting into the teeth of the card here. All right, 6 sides of steel tag team match. We got Moose and Stephen Bonner against King Mo and Lashley.
All right, I'm probably rolling with Moose and Stephen Bonner here, because Moose has gotten a very healthy placement on the card. He's gotten a nice push this year, and I think picking up this win over Lashley, one of the top guys in Impact, would be great for Moose on the big stage.
Yeah, no, so I agree with you 100% there. I mean, whenever you have celebrities come in, celebrities don't usually come in to lose, right? D'Angelo Williams had a great performance alongside Moose at Slammiversary in a big match, and I don't know that Stephen Bonner or King Mo is capable of performing the way that D'Angelo Williams did at Slammiversary, but at least you have Moose and Lashley in this match to make the match competent.
I mean, King Mo never had a 5.3 yards per carry average.
That's true. But I definitely expect Moose and Stephen Bonner to go over here. One thing that I think, for as much bad press as Impact has been receiving lately, one thing they seem to understand is that they have to identify Impact branded stars and have those guys be the feature performers. And so they've got Eli Drake as the champion. They got EC3 as their grand champion, and they got Moose here. I think Moose goes over. I think Moose is going to be a guy that you start seeing being featured more and more prominently on Impact as we continue to go on. All right. We got Sienna versus Ali versus Gail Kim in a 3-way match for the Knockouts Championship. What you got?
All right, I'm going to go with the upset here. I'm going to say that Ali ends up winning the match, and here's why. I feel like Sienna has been so strong for so long that on a card like this, they're going to want to pop the crowd here and give the babyface a win. And number 2, isn't Gail Kim retiring?
I think so, yeah.
So I feel like she's going to be the one to take the fall, go out on her back, get a nice arm raise later, get a nice arm raise after the match, get a nice cheer from the crowd, and then the feud going forward, Ali versus Sienna, because Ali didn't pin Sienna to win the match.
Listen, man, that's a really good prediction. That's a really good prediction. But I'm going to go with the feel-good moment. I'm going to say Gail Kim does the honors here for Ali as well, and I'm gonna say that Ali walks out as the new Knockouts champion. Again, I mentioned that Rosemary gets a great reaction. Ali gets a great reaction from every crowd that she's in front of, and so I think the smart thing to do would be to put Ali in position as the champion here. Also, one of the hot undercard people is Taya Valkyrie, and so you have Taya Valkyrie coming up, and she could be a challenger for Ali as the champion. So I say Ali goes over and wins the title here. We got Ohio versus Everything, Dave and Jake Christ, versus the Latin American Exchange, Ortiz and Santana with Conan, in a 51-50 street fight for the Impact World Tag Team Championship. Now, I don't know if you know what a 51-50 street fight is, but that means that it's going to be OVE versus every member of LAX. Now, if
Ohio versus Everything.
That's pretty good. So I'm expecting the girl Diamante to get involved. To whatever extent he can. I'm expecting Conan to get involved. Maybe we'll see Homicide. Maybe they'll bring back Low Key. Maybe they'll bring back Hernandez. You never know. So I'm expecting LAX to go over here just because I don't like OVE. I'm not a fan. I don't think they're very good. And I'm just not interested in their gimmick. Like they don't entertain me at all.
Yeah, OVE has they've risen up the card very quickly.
Very quickly.
It's like the opposite of what we talked about with Nakamura earlier in the show.
I think the tag title match was like their 3rd or 4th match.
Yeah, so I'm not so into OVE yet, but I think they're going to win here. I think there's going to be a lot of screwery. I think somebody runs in on their side to help out. I think there's going to be a lot of chaos, a lot of weapons, a lot of high spots, and I think somewhere in there, OVE will pull out a fast-paced win.
Okay, and here's the match that I actually expect to open the show. We got Trevor Lee versus Desmond Xavier versus Garza Jr. versus Matt Sydal versus Petey Williams versus Sanjay Dutt in a 6-way match for the X Division Championship.
All right, so we got a lot of stuff going on in this match. We got Petey Williams, who I really want to see hit a ton of Canadian destroyers and all these fools.
Oh, that'd be great.
I figure this match is going to come down to Trevor Lee and Matt Sydal, and I think Matt Sydal is going to pick up the win.
All right, that's really good. I think Desmond Xavier comes out with the win. Desmond Xavier won the Super X Cup tournament a few months back, and although they stopped paying attention to him for a couple of weeks, I would think that win would signify that he would be next in line for the X Division title. So I'm going to go with Desmond Xavier as my pick to come out in a match full of flips and unnecessary high spots. All right. And the main event of the evening is going to be Eli Drake with Chris Adonis going against Johnny Impact in a one-on-one match for the Impact Global Championship.
You know, I'm not saying Eli Drake just because I like saying Eli Drake.
Why do you like saying Eli Drake so much?
Because I might be a dummy, yeah. But
oh god,
Eli Drake has really been on fire these past few months since winning the Impact title with the rebrand. He feels like the right guy to be the face of Impact going forward. Johnny Impact, still very new, and he's a main event talent when he's used correctly. I don't feel him coming away with the win here. I don't feel him coming away with the win here. I feel like Eli Drake needs a big win on the biggest stage, and that's where I'm going here.
I think that actually makes sense. I do think this will be the match of the night. Johnny Impact is a phenomenal performer in the ring. Like, some of the stuff he does is just things that you don't see anyone else in the wrestling business do. In terms of the moves he does, his use of his parkour style and all that stuff. I think this match will be excellent. And I am going to go... So if you look at the way that they've been telling the story, Eli Drake has been doing a lot of beatdowns with help from Chris Adonis on Johnny Impact. And that would lead me to believe that this is setting up for a big victory by Johnny Impact at the pay-per-view. But the wrestling fan in me, the mark, if you will,
the dummy?
Yeah. Knows that this would just be a bad move for Impact. You know, they've gone through so many different regime changes and rebranding and all this other stuff. The last thing that they need to do is take another guy that people perceive as a WWE guy and have him win your title in a big spot. Eli Drake needs to be the man to lead this company through the next year or so as the featured performer. He has the entire wrestling performer skill set, and with him as your champion, I don't know where you go, but I think it can be very positive. And so, for that reason, I'm going against what I'm seeing story-wise, and I'm saying that Eli Drake comes out as the winner.
So, Terrence, I've got one last question for you.
What you got?
Do you feel like we're going to see any surprise returns, any surprise debuts, any surprise appearances on this card?
Well, we know they advertised that Alberto El Patron is going to be coming back. I don't think they know yet how they're going to use him. They could just put him in a match with, some jobber, which would be, a nice little thing. Just let the crowd get a pop.
No, Rockstar Spud's gone.
Yeah. The other thing is, they hinted at Sami Callihan coming in as part of OVE's team for the 5150 Street Fight, so that could be a thing. Also, they have signed Kiera Hogan, who I don't know if you've seen her, but she's gorgeous.
Any relation to Hulk?
I'm going to guess no, based on some of the things that I've heard from Hulk. I'm going to say definitely that's a no. Yeah, and so I'm looking forward to seeing her, and I hope that we get to see her, if not at Bound for Glory, definitely during this next set of Impact tapings. All right, Satch, tell the people where they can find you on social.
You can find me on Twitter at @SatchandDaveC. You can find me in person running around in Bo Dallas's jacket.
All right, guys. All right, ladies and gentlemen, never a dull moment in the world of professional wrestling. As I'm recording this, I'm seeing the news that one of the big matches that was planned for Bound for Glory between Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary is actually off because Taya Valkyrie is in the midst of some shaky citizenship issues. And so they fear that she may not be able to get back into the United States after she leaves to go to Canada for the show. So there's no beef between her and the company as of now. I'm sure if that changes, there will be no shortage of headlines, another wrestler departs Impact. So, but here we are for the show, less than 24 hours from the show. And one of the feature matches is no longer going to be taking place. So I think that puts them in an interesting spot. Obviously, they have to fill that card on the match, and they have to fill that slot on the card. And it leaves the question of what to do with Rosemary. Now, I think the smart thing to do is to take Rosemary and add her to the Knockouts Championship match, make that a 4-way. And, you can, again, I don't know if they've decided what to do with Alberto El Patron yet, but they can have him just do a squash against some jobber, or, they can take one of the people that, is on the roster but doesn't get a lot of feature time, and they can just have them do some sort of squash match, some sort of meaningless match, something to kind of open the show and just get it started. So it remains to be seen what's going to happen, but this company has to find some way to stop the negative press from coming out. And I don't mean by deleting, media access. They just have to create positive press. Jeff Jarrett, for all of his flaws, was really good at keeping a constant stream of positive press coming out for this company. And, his absence is glaring in that respect. So we'll see how that relates to Bound for Glory. All right, that's our show for this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thanks again to Thomas Legend for letting us use his song Act Right for our intro and outro. Please subscribe to the show. If you're listening on iTunes, subscribe. If you're listening on SoundCloud, if you're listening on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment. Let us know how you like it. Leave a rating. And most importantly, tell a friend to tell a friend. We want to grow our audience and bring more people into the conversation. All right. You can tweet us at Talking About Pod if you got any questions for Satch or for myself. We thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
And mama told me I'm a superstar. She did. Yeah. My aunt said I got the cutting edge. So I guess it's only right I take a decade of decadence, 4 more years, then it's Kanye West for president. You know that I'm a man with it. I shouldn't have to say it twice. You don't have to love me. You just gotta act right. Yeah. I don't fall in love though. Every night gonna be a fun night. You don't have to